This is a big one. MS Dhoni, who is perhaps India's most successful ODI captain and T20 captain, has now decided to step down from both the formats. Remember, he had already stepped down as India's Test captain, passing on the baton to Virat Kohli. But what is important here to note is that he is not retiring. However, he will be available for selection, but he will not be the captain. In all likelihood, of course, Virat Kohli, who's currently the Test captain, will be taking charge as the captain in all the formats. The one-day series with England, remember, starts on the 15th of this month. And for more on that story, I'm now joined by Sanjeev Mukherjee of CNN News 18. Also on the phone line with us is Sambit Bal, the editor of ESPN Cricket Info. Sanjeev, let me come to you. You have your pulse on the world of cricket. How should we react and respond to this news, really? I mean, was this something, that perhaps, some of you who cover the sport were expecting, owing to the success of Virat Kohli as the captain in the Test format?
Well, unfortunately, I will not agree with you on this particular issue, because if you ask for a reaction, it certainly comes as a surprise. But, let's make no bones about the fact that MS Dhoni was certainly in the home stretch of his career. He had already quit from the Test cricket, and he was leading India in one-day international cricket and T20 cricket. So, of course, the timing of Dhoni, as usual, he never makes it predictable. He's always remained unpredictable, and the timing will stump all of us yet again. But I would say at the outset, this is the end of an era. There's no doubt, absolutely, that he has been one of the most successful captains internationally. Not only is the fact that he's one of the most successful captains for India of all time, but if you look at his record internationally, his record as a one-day captain, as a ODI captain, is second only to that of Ricky Ponting. He's played the maximum number of matches, even as a T20 international captain. He figures right there at the top. His record is he's won more than close to 110 games out of the 199 which he has captained India and ODI. He's got an incredible record. He's won India a World Cup. He's won a T20 World Cup when he was handed the captaincy. So in all more ways than one, he certainly will go down as one of the all-time greats of Indian cricket and also international cricket.
No, indeed he will. Yeah.
But let me
Sambit, how do you read this? How do you... Yes, Sanjeev, just hang in. Sambit, if you could also come in. I mean, how should we read this? Clearly, without a doubt, as Sanjeev rightly said, he is without a doubt India's most successful ODI captain, and not just in India, but even globally. Like, he's next only to Ricky Ponting. But, the timing, considering the fact that India has just trumped, England 4-0, it is bound to open up sort of a can of conspiracy theories. Sambit, what's your take?
I don't think we should be reading too much into it. I think it's the right decision. Of course, it was a surprise because Dhoni always keeps his cards close to his chest. But it's the right decision, both for him as a player and for the team. You don't really need two leaders in Indian cricket. You don't need players get confusing signals. I think in the Indian context, the two-captain principle, I don't think works. Also, I think it'll, out of having taken the captaincy off, it'll extend his career as a player. I don't see there's a replacement for Dhoni immediately in ODI cricket. It's too soon to say whether he's a shoo-in for the next World Cup. But I think he's still fit. He's not that old. It's not out of question that it could extend his career. We should see how it goes for a year, and then Indian cricket needs to take a decision whether they want to carry Dhoni into the. Of course, if he doesn't feature in the World Cup plans, then they need to take a decision. But I think Champions Trophy is going to play a vital role.
Right. Hang in there, Sambit. Ayaz Memon also joins us on the phone line. Ayaz, I mean, so Sambit is saying that, perhaps two captains may not work. And perhaps, BCCI or maybe even Dhoni felt that, there should be one leader. And this is, of course, an approach which is very different from what we see, perhaps in South Africa, where you've got, where you've had, different captains. Till very recently, you had Hashim Amla, who was the captain for Test team, and then you've got, Faf du Plessis, who was the captain for the, for one-dayers. Australia had also, sort of excelled with Steve Waugh being the captain, for the Test side, and Ricky Ponting as the captain of the ODI team. Why do you think, that there is a feeling that, that such an approach may not work in an India context?
Well, I substantially agree with what Sambit has said. I don't know whether it will work or not, but I think the kind of
results that Virat has produced and the kind of influence he's wielded on Indian cricket in the last 18 months, it looked very difficult to kind of take him away from captaining in all formats. So while actually internationally the norm has been to go in for maybe two or multiple captains. Some teams have had captains for ODIs, T20s and Tests, all different people. Actually, India has been one of the few countries which has been consistent with one captain for all three formats. And the only difference we've had in the recent past has been Dhoni as captain in limited overs cricket and Virat in Test cricket. And Virat, I think Virat is now at the peak of his game as a batsman. He's also at the right age. He's tasted success as a captain. He's had enough experience. So I think perhaps this is the right decision. And I think Dhoni has been an enigmatic character, but I think he's also sensed it right. So I think it's a very good decision. Right. It's a very timely decision, and hopefully he'll continue to play.
Yeah. Right. One last question then before we wrap this up. Sambit, maybe you can come in on this one. Should world cricket now sort of fear Dhoni's exploits as a batsman even more now because he will be unburdened of the responsibility of captaining Team India in ODIs and T20?
It will depend on where he bats. In the sense that as captain he had taken the ownership of being the finisher at 6. I think his powers as a finisher has waned. He's not the more explosive batsman that he was. So if Kohli decides to bat him at number 4, number 5, he could play the role of something like Javed Miandar did for Pakistan in the later half of his career, where he kind of held the innings together and provided the kind of solidity that you needed in the second half of the innings. Also, just to come back to the point that you talked about two captains, why it worked in South Africa and why I think it will not work in India, because Dhoni and Kohli's captaincy styles, leadership styles are dramatically different. Whereas the South African team is essentially the same they follow the same captaincy styles. Whereas leadership styles of Dhoni and Kohli are very, very different, and you have the same group of players playing under two captains. That sort of creates confusion. I think it's the right thing for Kohli to captain in all three formats.
Well, that's a fine point to end this discussion on. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on India Business Hour and taking us through that big news development. Mahendra Singh Dhoni has now stepped down as the captain of both ODIs and T20.